Picture this. You are sitting at the dinner table. It's a holiday, the food is good, the vibe is fine, and out of nowhere, your uncle loudly asks exactly how much money you're making at that little job of yours. Or maybe you are in the break room at work, and a coworker makes a completely uncalled-for jab about your weight, your lunch, or your outfit. And before you can even process the insult, they slap on a bright smile and say, "I'm just kidding. Don't be so sensitive." What happens to you in that exact split second? I know exactly what happens, because we all do it. You freeze. The air gets sucked entirely out of the room. You can feel the heat rising in your neck. Your brain starts running 1,000,000 miles a minute, frantically calculating the stakes. Your inner monologue is just screaming. If I say something, everyone is going to stare at me. I can't ruin the dinner. I can't start drama in the office. I am going to look unhinged. So, you do what you have been conditioned to do since you were a little kid. You swallow it. Instead of defending yourself, you do the exact opposite. You fake a laugh. You force this hollow, polite little chuckle. You look down, and you desperately try to change the subject. You shrink yourself down to keep the peace. And then comes the worst part. You spend the entire drive home aggressively replaying the conversation. You stand in a hot shower for 45 minutes, having fake arguments with the shampoo bottles. You are practically winning Oscars in your own bathroom for the flawless, devastating comebacks you wish you had said in the moment. But in reality, you just feel small. And you feel angry, mostly at yourself. Welcome back to Paperweight Thoughts. I'm here to help you navigate the messy parts of adulting. And today, we need to have a very honest talk about why you are leaving every social interaction feeling utterly exhausted. Let's be radically honest for a second. If your chest tightened just hearing those scenarios, I completely get it. It is exhausting to live like that. You are not a bad person for wanting to avoid conflict. But here is the harsh, liberating truth. We do not suffer in these moments just because we aren't quick enough to argue back. We suffer because of a massive psychological blind spot. I call it our desperate need to catch the awkwardness. Think about the hidden power dynamic at play here. When someone throws a wildly inappropriate comment at you, they are essentially tossing a live grenade of social discomfort right into your lap. They are testing the fences, and our instinct, our deeply ingrained, people-pleasing conditioning, tells us that it is our absolute responsibility to jump on that grenade so nobody else in the room gets uncomfortable. When we awkwardly laugh and rush to change the subject for them, we hand over our power. We are signaling to them and to ourselves that it is okay to treat us poorly because we will actually help them get away with it. We abandon ourselves to maintain the peace for people who fundamentally do not respect ours. Let that sink in for a second. You are doing the emotional heavy lifting to make an insulting person feel comfortable. You tell yourself, if I call them out, I'll make it weird. I'll be the dramatic one. So instead, you absorb their toxic behavior into your own nervous system, and you carry it with you for the rest of the week. Have you ever just swallowed a giant lump of anger to avoid looking dramatic? Because you didn't want to rock the boat? Please, let me know in the comments right now. Because today, we are stopping that. We are done catching the awkwardness. To stop catching that awkwardness, we first have to see exactly what they are throwing at us. Because this kind of toxic communication rarely looks like a screaming match. It is quiet. It is wrapped in a smile. And there are 3 specific variations of this that are draining your energy every single week. Let's look at the first one. I call this the Schrodinger's joke. We all know this person. This is the coworker who takes a little jab at the presentation you just spent a week building. Or maybe they make a snide comment about the way you look today. They toss the insult out there, and then they pause. They are watching you. They are waiting to see your reaction before they decide if they were actually insulting you, or if they were quote unquote, just joking. And what do? Our people-pleasing panic sets right in. The inner monologue screams at us to not look overly sensitive, to just be a good sport and play along. So we give them that nervous chuckle. We actually agree with them. We say, "Oh yeah, I know. I look so tired today." We think we are diffusing the tension, but psychologically, we are just giving them a free pass to disrespect us. We are telling them that our boundaries are totally flexible as long as they slap the word joke on the end of their sentence. Then, you have the second type, the condescending concern. This one stings deeply because it usually comes from a friend. Picture the friend who just landed a six-figure job, and over coffee they look at you with these big, sad, pitying eyes and say, "Oh, you're still working at that nonprofit? That is so cute. You are so brave. It must be so incredibly stressful, not having any real savings yet." Notice what happens in your chest when you hear that. You instantly feel 3 inches tall. The trap here is that the insult is disguised as care, so you feel socially obligated to answer it like a genuine question. The default reaction is to immediately start scrambling to justify your life choices. You start rambling. "Well, actually, the benefits are really good, and I am up for a promotion, and it is just very fulfilling work." Stop. The psychological reality here is that they are not concerned about you. They are establishing a hierarchy. They are using your life to make themselves feel taller. And the second you start over-explaining your salary or your life choices, you are eagerly stepping down to the bottom rung of that ladder. You are handing them a clipboard and begging them to grade your life. And finally, the third trap, the Nosy Interrogator. You know exactly what this looks like. You are at a family gathering, and a relative corners you. They tilt their head and ask, "Still on those dating apps? When are you going to finally settle down and get serious?" Again, the instinct is to desperately defend yourself. You feel this intense pressure to prove that you are not falling behind. You start listing out your bad dates, or you get aggressively defensive and snap at them. Look at the thread connecting all 3 of these moments, whether it is the toxic joke, the fake concern, or the nosy family member. Our conditioning tells us to either laugh along, frantically over-explain ourselves, or get defensive. We do this because we mistakenly believe that if we just explain our side well enough, they will finally understand and validate us. But here is the tough love you need to hear today. When you frantically justify your life to someone who is committed to judging you, you are acting like a defendant on trial in your own life. And you are the one putting yourself on the witness stand. So how do we step down from that witness stand? How do we stop playing defense in a courtroom where the other person just casually appointed themselves as the judge? To do that, we have to look through a very specific psychological lens. We have to look deeply at the ego trap. When someone takes a swipe at us, whether it is a veiled comment about your career, your relationship status, or your body, our ego instantly flares up. It is basic human nature. Your brain says, "I have to correct the record. I have to prove them wrong. If I don't set this straight right now, it means they are right, or it means they won." But let's put the psychological X-ray on this dynamic for a second and strip away all the emotion. If you look closely at these interactions, they are not really conversations at all. They are subtle, invisible games of power. They are boundary checks. Think of it like this. When that toxic coworker or that nosy family member asks you a passive-aggressive question, they are not genuinely seeking information. What they are actually doing is taking a piping hot potato right out of the oven. A hot potato made entirely of tension, awkwardness, and their own unhealed insecurities. And they are tossing it directly at your chest. In that millisecond, the potato is in the air. The awkwardness is literally hanging in the space between you two. And what is our immediate people-pleasing instinct? Our inner monologue starts screaming, "Oh no, people are staring. This is going to ruin the vibe. I have to fix this." So we catch it. We reach out and we catch this burning hot potato with our bare hands. We scramble, we juggle it, we burn our own skin, just so it doesn't hit the pristine dining room floor and make a scene. We take on the pain of the awkwardness so that the rest of the room doesn't have to feel uncomfortable. We burn ourselves to keep them warm. But what happens if you just don't catch it? What if you just stand there with your hands firmly in your pockets and let their awkward, highly inappropriate comment hit the floor with a massive thud? What if you just stare at it and force them to look at the mess they just made? This is the concept of emotional detachment, and it is your ultimate shield. Emotional detachment isn't about being cold. It isn't about being mean, or giving them the silent treatment like a teenager. It is about becoming profoundly unbothered. It is stepping back and looking at their behavior like a scientist studying a weird bug. You look at them and think, wow, what an incredibly odd thing to say out loud to another human being. Here is the absolute high EQ truth of human behavior. Whoever loses their temper, or whoever rushes to justify themselves first, is the one who loses the power in the dynamic. When you frantically explain why your job is actually really great, or why you are choosing to stay single right now, you are secretly communicating something very dangerous to the aggressor. You are telling them, I value your opinion of me more than I value my own. You are confirming that they hold the measuring stick, and you are begging them for a passing grade. You are accepting an invitation to their drama. But you do not have to RSVP to that event. You do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. If the thought of just letting that awkwardness sit there makes you want to crawl right out of your skin, I completely get it. It goes against everything we were taught about being polite and accommodating. But being polite to someone who is intentionally disrespecting you isn't kindness. It is self-betrayal. Protecting your peace requires you to accept a very liberating reality. You absolutely cannot control what out-of-line comment comes out of someone else's mouth, but you have absolute, total control over whether or not you bend down to pick it up. So, how do we actually do this in real time? How do we leave that awkwardness on the floor without looking like we are throwing a tantrum? This is where we move from theory into practice. I'm going to give you 3 precise psychological judo moves to disarm these exact situations. You are going to take the awkwardness they threw at you, and you are going to hand it politely right back to them. Let's go back to the first scenario, the Schrodinger's joke. The coworker who insults you and then waits to see if you get mad before claiming they were just kidding. Usually, in this moment, we say something like, "Oh, haha, good one." Or, if we are feeling brave, we get flustered and say, "Hey, that's really mean." But both of those are reactions. Both of them feed the aggressor exactly what they want, your energy. Instead, I want you to try the most devastating tool you have at your disposal, the absolute power of silence. When they make the jab and wait for your nervous laugh, you give them absolutely nothing. You look them dead in the eye. You keep your facial expression completely neutral, not angry, just blank. You count to 3 full seconds in your head. 1, 2, 3. And then, you slowly turn your body away from them, look at the person next to them, and in a perfectly normal voice, ask a totally unrelated question. You say, "Anyway, did you see the email from HR this morning?" I promise you, silence is the highest form of emotional intelligence here. By refusing to engage, you force them to sit in the deafening quiet of their own bad behavior. You didn't catch the grenade. You let it blow up in their own hands, and they have to digest how foolish they look all by themselves. Now, let's handle the second scenario, the condescending concern. Your rich friend who pities your nonprofit job. Usually, we panic and try to build a verbal resume. We say, well, actually the benefits are really good, and I really like the culture there. We beg them to see our value. Instead, you are going to put up the boundary wall. You are going to look at them with genuine warmth, no anger, no defensiveness, and you are going to say exactly this: I'm actually really happy with where my life is at right now. We all choose different paths. Do you feel the massive shift in power there? You aren't arguing. You are fully self-validating. By simply stating that you are happy and refusing to elaborate, you completely remove the measuring stick. When you do not offer any metrics, salaries, or insecurities for them to poke at, you leave them with absolutely nothing to compare their own life against. Finally, we have the third trap, the nosy interrogator. The family member demanding to know why you are still single or looking at your bank account. Usually, we crack under the pressure and start explaining our messy dating life or our financial struggles. We hand over our raw personal data to a self-appointed judge. Instead, we use a tactic called Socratic shifting. You are never going to hand over raw data again. When they ask that highly invasive question, you have two options. You can smile brightly and say, "Oh, I am doing just fine. But I saw on Instagram you just bought a new boat. Tell me all about that." Or, if you want to be a little sharper, you simply look at them calmly, tilt your head, and ask, "Why do you ask?" This works instantly, because you are shifting the harsh spotlight right off of you and shining it directly back into their eyes. People who pry usually just want a desperate opening to talk about themselves anyway. And if they were just trying to judge you, forcing them to explain the logic of their nosy question almost always makes them stutter and quickly backpedal. Let's be completely honest about what happens right after you use one of these scripts for the very first time. Because I can sit here and give you all the psychological judo moves in the world, but the reality of executing them feels entirely different inside your actual body. The first time you look a toxic coworker in the eye and give them 3 full seconds of dead silence, your heart is going to beat completely out of your chest. You are going to feel a massive adrenaline dump. Your hands might literally shake underneath the table. And the entire drive home, that old, people-pleasing inner monologue is going to scream at you. It is going to panic and say, "Oh my God, what did we just do? We made it so weird." They are going to hate us. I need to text them right now and just apologize to smooth it over. If your chest tightens just thinking about doing this, I completely get it. But listen to me very closely. That physical panic is completely, 100% normal. It does not mean you did something wrong. It just means your nervous system is finally catching up to your new boundaries. You have spent 20, maybe 30 years operating as a human sponge, frantically absorbing everyone else's awkwardness, passive aggression, and insecurity just to keep the room comfortable. Wringing yourself out and refusing to absorb it anymore is going to feel absolutely terrifying at first. But you have to resist the urge to send that apology text. You have to let the awkwardness sit. Because every single time you use one of these scripts, you are completely rewriting your internal code. You are stepping out of a reactive, defensive mindset and stepping into a proactive, heavily shielded reality. You are no longer functioning as a sponge. You are becoming a mirror. When they throw a highly inappropriate comment at you, you are simply holding up a mirror and forcing them to look at their own bad behavior. You are realizing that it is fundamentally not your job to manage the emotional dysfunction of other adults. It is only your job to protect your own peace. And here is the beautiful part. Over time, I promise you, protecting your peace becomes second nature. It stops feeling like a terrifying, heart-pounding confrontation, and it starts feeling as easy and as natural as breathing. The boundary crossers in your life will slowly realize that you are no longer a fun target, and they will simply move on. Now, if you are sitting there realizing just how deep this people-pleasing conditioning really goes, if you are someone who struggles with the crushing, overwhelming guilt of finally drawing a line, you need the right reinforcements. If you freeze up and never know exactly what to say when your boundaries are tested, I highly recommend the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab. It is the ultimate survival toolkit for recovering people pleasers. It bridges the gap between knowing you need boundaries and actually having the courage to set them without apologizing for your own existence. I've linked it in the description below, and I strongly suggest you grab a copy. You are not a bad person for choosing your peace over their comfort. You are just finally learning how to carry your own shield. I'm Alex, here to help you get a little stronger every day. Subscribe if you want to figure life out together.